Okay, EV road trip into charging desert number one. My first one was actually an audible because I was planning on going to Mount Mitchell State Park in North Carolina, which is the highest point east of the Mississippi, for my first EV road trip into a charging desert. Cool thing about Mount Mitchell being the highest point is that electric vehicles have a hard time with consumption of energy while they go uphill. So it would be a real challenge to go to Mount Mitchell and back. Plus, Mount Mitchell is in the middle of nowhere. There's no chargers anywhere near Mount Mitchell. And so that was kind of like the Mount Everest for EV road trips and charging deserts for me. And I was going to do that one first. But we had a hurricane come through, and I figured high elevations was not a good idea. Judging from the path of the storm, and plus my wife was coming with me to Mount Mitchell, and she was not a big fan of going on that weekend with the hurricane being in the neighborhood. So I did an audible to Roan Mountain State Park in Tennessee, and just to show you, there's the destination. It's got a pretty severe terrain surrounding it. There's the High Knob, which is one high point in the area. But the closest thing is Boone, North Carolina. There's a cluster of chargers over there that I was going to use to get at. And going into Boone, I was going to be coming up from Hickory right here. Wait, no, that's not right. Where is Hickory? Hickory is here. And I'm kind of excited. They're putting in this new sequence of DC fast chargers in Hickory. This is what they look like. Two brand new DC fast chargers, but they're not ready yet. So I had to find some other alternatives to charging. But I'll show everyone here how I actually accomplished this feat of EV road trip into charging desert number one. Roan Mountain State Park. There it is right there. Not a lot as far as charging infrastructure goes. Definitely no DC fast chargers around, and a few level 2 if I absolutely needed it over here at Grandfather Mountain. To get into the Grandfather Mountain, you have to pay to get into the parking lot in order to use those chargers. So right around here, there's really not a lot. And what I did is I came up 321, I crossed over, I got to the mountain, and then I came back down over here to Jim Cook Chevrolet. This dealership is great. They've got a free DC fast charger. It's an ABB 50 kilowatt DC fast charger that they make available to the public. Really nice people. So that was the route. First stop was at an Ingles. Ingles is a grocery store in our area, and they have level 2 chargers at many of their locations. So I stopped there and kind of topped off after coming out of my garage just to kind of give me a little bit of a boost on the way in. There's me in front of the sign of Hickory, North Carolina, which is a good junction point for my EV road trips. You'll see that I visit Hickory quite a bit. And there's the new fast charger that I was talking about. I took a picture and uploaded it to PlugShare in order for the community to see the actual infrastructure that was coming. But this was the one that I actually charged at. Since the Duke Energy new DC fast charger was not available yet, the only other place in that vicinity that has a DC fast charger is a Nissan dealership. And if you look, it says ABB. That's the manufacturer of this DC fast charger. But there's only one, so if there's someone using it, you're out of luck. At this point, there wasn't anyone using it, so I was able to charge up, and I did go to, I think it was about 86%, and I was pulling 46 kilowatts free, which was nice. Oh, there were I got to 87%, and I pulled. It says 18,000 kilowatt hours, but that's not right. It's 18 kilowatt hours. That should be a decimal point there. And I spent 26 minutes. And for me, that was about a fourth of a tank because my EV, the Volvo XC40 Recharge, has about 75 kilowatt hours that it could hold. And here I am making the elevation climb into Boone, some of the pretty scenery. The point of the whole trip is really twofold. One, to prove that I could go into a charging desert with an electric vehicle. And secondly, was to enjoy the outdoors. Boone, North Carolina is famous for ski resorts, and south of the Mason-Dixon line, ski resorts are few and far between, but this is one of the few locations in the Appalachian Mountains where you can go skiing during the wintertime. And when I was there, they were actually making snow, so the slopes were actually open. There's the slopes. And I think that might be all of them. I could be wrong. I have not gone skiing there. I grew up in Illinois, so I'm familiar with skiing and what it's like to go down slopes. And I heard there were 3 resorts. I'm not sure if this is showing all 3 of them or not. So this is Blue Ridge Energy, which is the local energy co-op in the Boone, North Carolina area. And the other one that I was showing in Hickory was provided by Duke Energy, not the one I actually charged at, the one that is still in the process of coming. So electric companies do install chargers throughout their environment in order to encourage EV adoption. One of the arguments for EV adoption is, oh no, you're going to kill the grid. That's not the case. The electric companies are thrilled that people are starting to use electric cars. So they're installing chargers all over the place. And this one is at one of the offices for Blue Ridge Energy. And is DC fast charger, really nice, pulling 62.5 kilowatts. Right there. And I paid $2 for a third of a tank. Very inexpensive. There I am. I made it. Trick is not only making it to the destination, but being able to make it back. So yeah, I made it. It wasn't. It was a pretty nice day. It was cloudy. It was warm. You could tell I wasn't wearing a coat. Nice thing about living south of the Mason-Dixon line, the climate is very temperate. The Roan Mountain State Park is operated by the Tennessee State Park System. And they've got a beautiful river running through their property. Fresh mountain water. And when I say fresh mountain water, I mean it because we're at some of the high elevations where the source of the water comes from. So that water is absolutely drinkable. There's not much above this stream besides untouched wilderness. So that is super clean water right there. And they have a nice little visitor center where you could buy souvenirs, go to the restroom, and get information about the trails and camping in the area because the state park does have camping. One of the draws to it is they also have cabins. They've got very nice kind of luxury cabins going on there. Pretty nice setup. Oh, and they also have this farmstead. This farmstead was kind of funny. It looks like it's part of the state park and everything, and here's a description of the farmstead. Feel free to pause the video if you want to read all that. But I'm like, oh, farmstead. I'm going to go down to the farmstead, and there's the house, and there's the barn. And you can see like a little plot of a garden, kitchen garden going on here. So I started heading down, but the doors were closed, and it looked like it was lived in. So I felt like I was walking into someone's front yard. And in eastern Tennessee, that's a good way to get a shotgun pointed at you. So I stopped when I got to this road, and I was the only one there, and that looked like a house. I'm like, wait a minute. So I returned back to my car. There's a picture of it up at, I forgot how high it was. There probably about maybe 3,500 feet of altitude. Ranger station at Roan Mountain. There was an event going on. The Rangers were all active and about. As I said, very pretty day. This was not fog. This was cloud. As I said, a hurricane had recently gone through. It didn't cause any damage. It was down to a tropical storm by the time it came through here, and it was a little windy, but really what this was a low cloud cover. So that was kind of cool. And here I am describing the concept of electric vehicles and how they don't like going uphill. But at 5,500 feet of altitude of elevation, I had definitely burned through a lot of battery. Now, this was the high point. On the opposite side, you can see the sign for North Carolina right there. On the opposite side of this thing, I start going down, and it was funny because my battery indicator was actually starting to go up, because one of the things that electric vehicles do is as you apply brake, it uses a generation system to charge the battery. So as I'm going downhill, I'm basically riding the brake, which means I'm generating electricity for the battery, which means my percentage of battery was actually going up instead of down on the backside of this. I think I got about like 3 or 4% of battery added back before I started to level out and start to consume battery again. And then I stopped at Jim Cook Chevrolet and topped off before I headed home. The whole trip, I only spent $2 and change for charging throughout the whole thing, and successfully did a Charging Desert EV road trip. That was the first one. It was fun. It was a ton of fun.